What's up, everyone? This is Chris and Angelo from Mind of One, and today we're going to walk you through our remix of Vinier by Leo Lauretti, Zohar, and Steph Collings, which is out now on EUPHONIC Records. This remix has been supported by Markus Schulz, Sander Van Doorn, Paul Van Dyk, and many more, and also hit the #1 trance releases on Beatport, which we're very happy about. So a bit on how the project started. Leo contacted us with the opportunity to release a remix alongside his beauty of an original. We were very excited about this opportunity and decided to give it a go. So the first thing we did was we listened to the original mix just to see what we're working with, and then proceeded to the stems to see what we'll be applying to the remix. The way we usually approach a remix is by either changing the tempo, changing the key, basically just trying to achieve a different style and vibe overall to offer more variety in the release package. So without further ado, let's get right into the project and have some fun. Alright, so let's get started with the vocal. First thing we did was took all the samples, we transposed them down one semitone, changed the key of the track. The main vocal has 3 layers. We got the vocal wet, so we got some delay and some reverb. We got some Replica XT. We're using a 1/8 dotted delay. The reason why we like Replica XT is because it's very visual. And we also got some Valhalla shimmer here. We got the vocal dry, so no delay or reverb. And then we also have the vocal in mono. Let's listen to this all together.
It was right. Suddenly there's something in the air tonight.
We also have some group processing. We got some reductive EQ. We're boosting the high end and the mid range with some mag EQ. And we also have some sidechain during the drops. We have a vocal atmosphere. Let's give this a listen. Once again, we have Valhalla shimmer. We have some auto pan as well, going left to right. And we have some sidechain in the drops. We got a vocal chop over here. And now the interesting part. So we first used this technique in our Find My Own remix for Leo, Teghetto, and Giovanna Bianchi. What we did is the section before the break, we decided to take the vocal, chop it up, reverse it, mix and match, and see which parts went well together. And this is what we came up with. Pretty cool, something unique. We got some decapitator here. Once again, Replica XT, Valhalla shimmer. We got some filtering throughout the track. And once again, we got some sidechain. And that's it for the vocal. Next up is the kick. Let's have a listen to the main layer. So we selected a nice deep Vengeance sample. We pitched it down one semitone to fit the key of the track. Here we cut out the high frequencies because we have a second layer for the click. So we want to make room for it. Next is Bark of Dog. We use this all the time on our kicks. What this is doing is it's increasing the low end without muddying it. It's going to add some nice power and rumble to the kick. Let's listen. Then we have Transient Master. We're pushing the attack 6% just to add a bit more punch to the kick so it could cut through the mix. On a smooth setting, nothing too harsh. And LFO tool to shape the kick. Without this, the kick drags on too much and it clashes with the sub. Here we have the click. We're using the click section from kick 2. Cutting out all the lows and a bit of the highs. With click, click. On the kick group, just removing some low frequencies and 2 auto filters, one for low cut, one for high cut. This is for transition purposes. Onto the sub. A nice basic patch from Nexus, default sub. We're monoing everything under 70 because that's the highest sub note that's played. Again, just cleaning up with EQ. Trash to beef up the sub. We don't want it sounding thin and weak. Pro Q again with some low end cleanup. An LFO tool for sidechain. Now, this curve is the opposite of the kick curve. It's not exactly the opposite because if it's the exact opposite, it's going to sound too static, and we want a bit of a natural feel, a bit of human error, so it won't be too perfect. Kick and subgroup, we just have some glue compression to glue everything together and to make everything more cohesive. Here we have also a trigger channel, which is basically a ghost kick. So what this is doing is we're routing this trigger to the bass's synths and atmospheres, so it could duck when the kick plays, and that way we can make more space for the kick in the mix, and that way it could breathe better. Off to the basses. Nothing special here. It's a very simple and repetitive pattern, but it's very groovy and it works well with the rest of the track. Let's listen to the main layer. Beautiful patch from Serum. Some EQing. We're driving it with saturation knob. It's adding some nice grit. And we're making room for the sub with some dynamic EQ. Next layer is the wide layer. Top layer. Support. Attack. And our pluck note. On our bass group, we have some glue compression. We got MSED. This is a free plugin. It's a mid-side control. We're boosting the mid gain and the side gain 2.1 and 1.5. It's adding some nice thickness. We got some compression, just tightening things up. Adding some saturation with Black Box and Camel Crusher. Some analog color with Q. And lastly, our sidechain. Let's look at the bass effects. First one. This one we grabbed from the remix pack. It was initially a bass hit, and by reversing it, we made it into a swell, just to change things up a bit. Second one. Third. In terms of processing, it's nothing complicated. Just some EQ to clean up some frequencies, Replica XT for delay just to add some repetitions, and Valhalla Vintage Verb for reverb to add some space. Same thing with the other two, just some EQ and reverb. The purpose of these bass effects are to spice things up and to add some ear candy. Time for some drone bass action. Got a great sound from Spire. Some EQ, adding some harmonics with trash. transient master, some wow 2, bringing it to life. Mini filter, we're automating the cutoff frequency to add that movement, and shaper box for sidechain again. Let's look at the break bass. A rich Reese bass from Serum, some EQ again, saturation knob, and auto filter to smoothen the transitions. Let's listen without auto filter. And with. Nice and smooth. Moving on to the drums, let's give this a listen. We've got a few channels here. Start with the hat. We've got 4 layers here. Give this a listen. All together, sounding very nice and full. We're also driving the sound, some saturation knob. Clap is 2 layers. We got some reverb from Valhalla Vintage Verb. We're also cutting some of the peaks. Flip shifter. The ride, we got it auto panning ever so slightly. We got a shaker loop. It's panning a lot more than the ride. These are some nice movement. We also have 2 percussion loops, one panned left and the other one panned right. Let's give these a listen. Cool. We also have some group processing. We got some group compression. We're doing about 2 dB of gain reduction. We're boosting the sides with some mid-side EQ. We got Black Box. It's an amazing saturation plugin. You can definitely hear the difference when it's turned on and off. We got some Mag EQ. We're boosting the high end, the air band, and we're also doing a bit of boosting in the mids. We love Mag EQ. It's absolutely amazing. We use it usually on our vocals, on our drums, and for group processing. Got some reductive EQ on the group, and we also got some filtering between sections. Let's take a look at the synths. We got our main melody, our rhythmic pluck, and our ARP. We got 5 layers here. The first layer is from Serum. This is doing most of the heavy lifting. Let's give this a listen. We got some saturation from Camel Crusher as well as Saturn. Saturn is actually saturating everything between around 250 Hz and 2000 Hz. We got some delay from Replica XT and some reverb from Valhalla Room. These next 2 layers are actually the same patch as the first one. It is Serum once again. These 2 layers as well as this one is actually from Spire. It is complementing this layer here. The reason for that is because we found that this layer by itself in the context of the whole mix was too weak. So these 3 layers all together with this gave it more power and more presence, filled up the space a lot more. So let's listen. Without. So you can definitely tell it makes a huge difference when you layer all these sounds together. We got this last sound here. It's our epic lead from Hive. It does a very good job bringing more energy and hype to the second drop. Once again, we have some saturation from Saturn. We're widening the sound with wider, but just a little bit. And we got some reductive EQ here with the vocal. Altogether, it sounds like this. So the melody itself is very simple, but with a simple melody and a catchy sound, in this case, many sounds layered together, goes a very long way. All right, so let's move on to the group processing. Got some track spacer here. The reason why we got this is we found that the main lead clashed with the vocal. So what this is doing is making space for the vocal to come up in front of the mix, instead of it being kind of in the back and kind of lost. We got some glue compression, doing about 2 dB of gain reduction, putting up the attack to bring out the transients of the melody. We got some more reductive EQ with the vocal, boosting some frequencies at 2.3 kilohertz, as well as turning up this knob here to drive it a bit more. Gives some nice color. We're filtering between sections, and we got some sidechain as well. Moving on to the pluck, very simple. Let's give this a listen. And lastly, we have the ARP, which we took from the original track. It is absolutely beautiful. It has a good feel to it. We transposed it down one semitone to fit the key of the track, and this is what it sounds like. Very dreamy, very cool. We got some saturation knob and some sidechain once again. And that is it for the synths. Lastly, we got our effects. We have our impacts, downlifters, crashes, more impacts, uplifters, tonal effects, and white noise. So let's hear the impact that it has on the song. Here is without the effects. With effects. So these effects are essential for songs with a lot of energy. They really help with transitioning from one section to another, build-ups, drops. You need these to make these sections hit harder and to create anticipation and tension. So that is the end of the walkthrough, guys. We want to thank Leo Lauretti and Abstrakt Music Lab for having us today. We really appreciate the opportunity, and we hope you all learned a thing or two today. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel yet, you should definitely do so. There's some really cool content coming out in the next few months, and it'll be a shame to miss out. You can connect with us on our socials at Mind of One Music. Feel free to ask us any questions if you have any. Have an awesome day, and until next time, cheers.